Hello everyone. So in this video, I'm going to show you that how we can use tax engine within Business Central, and we are going to compute tax on a transaction, and we are going to post our GL accounts to our tax to the GL accounts and GL entry and their subledgers uh, with by the help of tax engine, which is provided in with the India localization of Business Central. And why it is different from others? Because in this case, we are not going to do any extra amount of code or anything with the uh, in AL as compared to any code unit writing or anything. And we are going to introduce a new tax type, and we are going to compute that tax. We are going to configure that on a sales order. Okay, so it's similar to a blog I've written a long time back, but that time it was not fully completed, and the audience were also not fully aware of the tax engine concept. So I think it's worth a shot giving, providing that input again. And in this time, we are also going to compute as well as we are going to post that order, and we are not going to do any single amount of code in any code unit or anything. Okay. So before I jump to that, quick introduction. I'm Rishabh Shukla. I'm working as a managing consultant with Oli Technologies, and that is my YouTube channel. I preferably put all my questions, my videos here. Thank you for your questions. Every time you guys asked, I think I'm able to answer all of them. But if not, then yeah, feel free to tell me about that. And yeah, subscribe the channel if you think the videos are necessary enough for you, so that you don't miss any updates. All right, so I'll try to keep it short and crisp. So, with India localization, what you get as different type of taxation is GST, TDS, and TCS. So if you go to tax types, you will see all these tax types configured over there. That is good. Now, one thing is that you would like to customize one of the use cases or one of the scenarios. Now, other would be that let's say there is a new regulatory requirement from the government, maybe in India and outside of India, and that is to configure VAT as well on top of it. Okay, and I am taking this example because so the video becomes more useful for audience who are not using localization of Business Central with India. Okay, so and that's the best part. Taxation is designed in a way that it is not specifically for India. Okay, it is provided only as a as a tool only, which is only deployed with India localization, or when the provisioning is done for Indian tenants. But it is the way that how tax engine is designed is that it can work on any of the taxation. Okay, and to make the example more relevant, I'll show you how we configure VAT on it. Okay. So first things first, let's see the configuration for a second. So with the I'll say W1, you get VAT business posting group and product posting group, and based on that, I'll talk about very simple scenarios right now. Okay, so with that combination, you get the VAT percentage on the VAT posting setup. So just to ensure that W1 doesn't calculate that tax, what I have done here is that I said that there is a new VAT business posting group test domestic, and in a similar way, I have a new VAT product posting group saying test full norm. Okay, now if I go to setup, I have configured a 0% of VAT with this setup. So which means that when I am going to calculate any, so I've actually tagged these two parameters on 10,000 customers. So what I'm going to do now is that I will, that's interesting. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just quickly try to calculate tax on this transaction. So you can see down here it says no VAT, which is good. And if I go to posting, preview posting, and it creates one VAT entry, which is good. And there you go. Test full norm and test domestic. VAT amount is 0. Okay. So we are just ensuring that W1 is not calculating this tax. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to calculate this tax using tax engine. Okay. And we are not going to do any coding for that. Okay. All right. So first things first, you have to go to your tax types. Okay. Now, in the tax types, you define that which kind of tax you want to calculate. One of them could be GST. GST says you want to calculate TDS, or in our case, we would like to calculate VAT. So I'll say VAT as code, and it's value added tax. Now, if you have any specific accounting period for this tax type, then put it there. If not, just keep it blank. Okay. Sometime it happens that you want to compute this. The accounting period for this tax is going to be, quarterly or something like that. You can define that similar kind of account period here. It's the same kind of table, accounting period, with a code appended to it. If you're not going to use it as just leave it the way it is. You don't have to populate it all the time. All right. Now, once you're going to calculate tax, and I'm going to take one example very quick so that it becomes more relevant for you to understand tax engine. So let's consider a scenario where you don't have any sort of, software in place or any ERP in place. How you're going to compute tax in that system, or in your register, for instance, manually, right? So you do a transaction. Let's say in my case, I've sell something to Canon Groups, and the item number is 1936S. Okay, so you'd say, okay, the product posting group of the item is this. It's going to be full norm, and then it's a domestic customer. So with a domestic customer, when I'm selling him a full norm sort of an item, what kind of percentage I'm going to apply? Okay, so VAT product posting group and VAT business posting group are basically your attributes. Okay, and customer could be one of your attributes, but given the circumstances in this case, you don't really rely on the customer. Instead, you rely on the VAT business posting group you're dealing with. Same goes with the item as well. To one item, one GL could have same VAT product posting group, right? So VAT product posting group is going to be one of your attributes. And as an output, you're computing a component, which is VAT. Okay. Now, if I talk about India, in parallel with GST, you calculate different type of components. You calculate CGST, SGST, IGST, and so on, right? And attributes can be HSN code, GST group code, I don't know, GST customer type, GST registration number. These could be your attributes. Okay. So with this example, considering this in mind, we are going to compute our tax. So I go to related. First things first, that the tables or the entities that you are going to touch when you are going to compute your VAT. Okay, so in my case, we are going to compute it only on sales orders. So I'll say table one could be customer. It's a master type table. Table two could be item. Let's take GL account as in master. What else? Sales header. And then we'll say sales line. Sales line and sales header could be of type mass transaction. Yeah. So this is just to ensure that considering how tax engine is defined, you are going to select the name of the tables at some point. And to make the list, summarized enough, you only deal with these tables when you're working on these tax type. You don't want to see object tables or integer table in parallel because the design is generic enough, which is going to show you all the table cells. In that case, it's going to create complication for functionals as well, who are not really, understanding the concept of those tables. All right. So first things first, you define tax entities. Super. Next is the components. Now, like I said, based on the VAT business posting group, product posting group, you're going to calculate a component which is called VAT, right? So I'll say VAT, and rounding precision of the component could be one. I'll say nearest. I want to post it to my GL when I'm going to post it, so I will skip GL posting is going to be false, and I'll keep this visible on interface so that whenever I see it, whenever the tax is computed on any document, it shows up like this in the component screen, visible on interface. So it shows up on the fact boxes. Okay, so I keep it true. Um, if you are going to calculate this component in your actual use case execution, then keep it normal. If it has a constant formula all the time, for all the use cases, you can say it as formula. Okay, so one could say that whatever the VAT amount, VAT component is, I say total VAT would be, visible on interface, type formula, and here I can say VAT plus 100. So in this case, VAT is the VAT component. So whatever the VAT amount is, based on that, I'll add $100 on it, and that is going to be my VAT component. Now, irrespective of the type of scenario, this is going to be same. So in these cases, use formula. Okay. If not, then just leave it blank. I'll delete it for now. Let's keep very simple. Well, that's tax components. Now you are going to calculate tax with these two attributes called VAT business posting group and product posting group, right? So I'll say VAT business posting group and say visible interface true. Now keep in mind, you have to define the relation if you have any table in the backend for this. Okay, ideally you would be having this. So I'll say VAT business posting group is a master and it comes from VAT business posting group table. So you can either just type half of the name, ID of the table, something like that. So like in this case, in VAT business posting group, there is a code field. If I type one and then tab, it brings up code, right? That's how visible the design is. Right. So, which also means that when I say no code, it means you don't have to write execution logic, but you still have to create tables and pages and their fields, right? Although you don't have to write any logic behind them, but yeah, you still have to create these tables. All right. So, you define a tax attribute, okay, and you're going to say how many entities are linked with this attribute. So I'll say for customer, it is linked, and in customer, there's a field called VAT business posting group. Similarly, in item, there is a field called VAT business posting. Oh, I'm wrong. No, 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 no. Not for item. Sorry, my bad. Item doesn't have VAT business posting group. Um, in sales header, I might have a VAT business posting group, right? Where else? In sales line, I also have a VAT business posting group. So, if you are only going to consider VAT business posting group offline, ideally we all do, then you don't have to define it for customers and sales header, okay? Because line takes priority over all of them. But in case you want to, make it smart enough to, in future, if you want to configure some scenarios where customers, so VAT business posting group takes priority, define it here. Now, similarly, you say VAT product posting group, okay? I'll say visible on interface because I want to see it on the fact box. Now I also have a table for it, so that's good. And if you have any specific page for this, then populate this field. If not, it is going to take the lookup page ID of this table. Now, in a similar way, VAT business product posting group is on items. It is on sales lines. Where else? You might want to use it on GL account as well, so that it's better you do it now. And then what else? You might have to do it on resources. What did I do wrong? Not able to type resource here. Oh, you see, I have not selected resources on tax entities, hence it's not allowing me to put it here. So resource is also master. I'm going to put it here and then add product posting row. Super. So far, we have defined the components which we are going to get when we calculate VAT, and we have also defined the attributes or variables that we want to calculate. Now, just for the knowledge sake, when you define an attribute, it doesn't mean that it only takes type of text. You can define it as integer, you can define it as date, you can define it as, decimal, boolean, or something like that. You can also define it as an option. Okay, so if you have seen India localization, and I'll just quickly take a minute. Yeah, if I go to GST and I go to attributes here, I can see there are tons of variables defined. Okay, and guys, we are taking very simple example where VAT business and product posting group are the only thing which are considered. If you are going to build a full-fledged functionality on top of it, yeah, these could be one of the instances, right? So vendor type is a type of option. You go here, once you select the field over there, it gives you all these options type, right? So on the vendor table, it says there's a field called GST vendor type, and once you select this, it's going to populate all the options. All right, so that's one thing. Now, the next part is that you want to, so once you have your components, you have your attribute, you want to populate or you configure tax rates. Okay. Now, typically you have VAT posting setup table for this, but in this case, you don't really need to have a table for setting up your rates. Okay. And that's the part which is also configurable. So I'll say I define my tax rates based on the combination of my tax attribute, VAT, business posting group. That's on my sequence one. And based on my VAT product posting group, okay, because you have just created attributes for this name, right? I'll put it at sequence two. And then you say, I also define, an effective date. So you'll say range from, and you'll say effective, and it's of type date. That's going to be a sequence three, okay? And then based on this, you define your component percent, which is for VAT, all right? So what does this means? So you're saying that based on my VAT business posting group attribute, VAT product group attribute, and I also define a effective date, okay? And basis this, I define my VAT component, okay? Or the percentage of VAT component. Now, if I go back and I go actions and do tax rates, so you can see a similar window with that combination is available to me now. Now, one could say that effective date is something which could be from and to date. If I go back, go to actions, rate setups, and I'll say instead of range from, it is range from and to. Okay, let's see what it does. Go to actions, tax rates. And you can see I have two columns, effective from and effective to, right? So that's how configurable system is, and that's how you can define your tax rates. Let's keep it simple, guys. Again, I'll go to rate setups and I'll say range from. And just to keep it more granular, I'll say effective from here. Super. Um, then I go to actions, tax rates, and then I'll say for my test domestic business posting group and test full norm business posting group, effective date today, my VAT percent is going to be 10 or 10%. Now that's one case. Now let's say you want to configure your tax rates in this format, saying test domestic. Um, why am I typing if I can do a lookup? Test domestic, and for all other VAT product posting group, effective date today, VAT is going to be 5%. Okay. Now, if you want to configure your scenarios like this, which means that your VAT product posting group field can be left as allowed blank. And it's one of the examples where you want to connect back to GST. So in GST, you say GST group code is this, HSN code is this, then you say these are going to be my tax rates. Now one could say under one GST group code, there are 10, 20 HSN codes, okay, and all of them have same percentages. So you don't really want to define all of them in the tax rates, okay? So you can go to your tax type, and to do handle this situation, you can say on rate setup, on this attribute, you can say allow blank, which means that it could be blank as well. So based on a scoring algorithm, it's going to compute the can compute the tax rate for the transaction. Okay, so that's all the meaning of the allow blank field. Okay, I think it is in use with the GST with the HSN code. Yeah. And the reason behind it is because one GST group code can have 10, 20, or I don't know, some HSN code. So you don't really want to, expand or explode your list. All right. So that is that. Let us go back and just telling you the meaning of all those things. You can go to your show matrix here so that you have an understanding how system works. Okay. Just let's keep it simple. Test domestic, full norm, effective date today, 10% of tax, right? So quick recap. For this tax type, we have created the set of entities, set of attributes, set of tax rates, and the rate setups. Now, the next thing that I want to use is the use cases. Now, what is use case? You have defined your setup kind of a thingy right, earlier. You defined your attributes, what could be your outcome, but outcome and attributes can be utilized into different scenarios and by in a different ways. That is where use case comes into picture. So I'll create one example for you which makes more sense. So I'm creating new use case. I'll say calculate VAT. Mm, VAT on sales document. What else? Yeah, I'll say it this way. And now I'm going to select sales line as my entity. Okay, so that is that. Just created one simple name of use case. I'll collapse this, I'll collapse this, and come to attributes. Now you have defined attributes. It could be like 10, 20 attributes that you have defined with the tax type, but you might not want to use all of them with your use case. That is also a possibility. But whichever use case you want to use with your use case, you have to map them with the use case, saying that for this use case, from where should I get my HSN? Sorry, not the VAT product posting group or business posting group. Okay, so for this use case, I'm saying I would like to take my VAT business posting group from, um, so I'll tell you the usage of switch case statement in when I'm defining product posting. So I'm saying take it from the, you know what, let's make it simple. Take it from the current record, which is the sales line. Okay, that is that. And you can just close it. Just want to ensure we have everything in place. Hmm. Yeah, there might be some error. I did not really make over there. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so I will select another one, and at this time I'll say I want to map VAT product posting group, and let's make it complex, right? I want to take my VAT product posting group based on my type. So either you can take it from your sales line. That's the ideal situation. Now one could say that if my current records, and that is where the fantastic lookup thing comes into the functionality. I'll say if current record, when I say current record, in this case, sales line, okay, current records type is equal to item, then take it from item table, okay. And when I say item table, there could be a bunch of item. You have to say what item it should select. So I'll say number of my item equals current records number. So sales line has a number field which has the item number. Now, similarly, you can say if current records type is GL account, then take it from the GL account table. Similar linking, number of my GL account. Either do it like this or select it from the lookup up. I mean, it's up to you. Yeah, so number of my sales line, right? And let's make it even, and I'll say current records type is my resource, then take it from the resource table. Again, number of resource table equals number of sales line. Super. So that's how you can make it conditional, right? You can make the sequencing here as well. By default, it's 0, 0, 0. Ideally, switch cases. It's kind of switch cases if you see the logic. Switch case this, switch case that, switch case this. That's how it works. Okay. So yeah, there you go. So that is one thing. Once you so for a sales line, these things are going to be common, irrespective of the document type, irrespective of anything. You are going to get the values of these variables. So it's considering that consider this why in a way that you're executing all those calculation logic as functions. So in a function, you say get VAT business posting group, get product posting group. So that's how you do that. So that is one thing that you have done. Now what I'm going to do now is I'll create a child use case from here. I'll click on add child use case. And at this time, I will say calculate VAT on sales orders where type is item. So I'm just segregating the use case this time. And here I'm saying there is a precondition in my use case. So I will click here and I'll say, and you can see the resemblance. There are same forms and same pages of condition and lookups which are opening across use cases, right? So I'll say if my current records document type is order and my current records no type is item, then this use case is going to be qualified. Now, since you have already defined the mapping of the attributes, you don't really have to do it here, okay, because you have already told this use case from the parent that where you're going to use it. Now, if it is a possibility that apart from those two variables, you want to select any other variable here, so you can map this attribute here. Or you can say for VAT product posting group, you want to specify a different mapping. That is also doable. You can define it here. This use case will supersede the value of that attribute. Okay, let's keep it simple. We're not going to do that for now. Now, if you remember your tax rates screen, there was VAT business posting group, product posting group, effective date, and VAT component. Now, to find a tax rate, you have already mentioned the mapping of business posting group and product posting group. That is what you have done in the attributes. But you still didn't tell him that where it can find the effective date. So you say map column values to find tax rates, and here you have to tell him the mapping of effective dates. So I'll say effective from, that was the date. If I go to mapping, I'll say always because I don't really want to change it anytime. And at this time, you want to take it from the sales header. So I'll say table, sales header, first value of posting date. And of course, you have to apply filters. So we'll say document type of sales header equals document type of your current record. In a similar way, you will say number of your sales header equals current records document number, right? Easy. So that's this, right? So I've defined another use case, and in this use case, you are also going to calculate your VAT. Now there's a tab down there that says component formula, and I'll say calculate VAT. Now again, it could be possible that you have defined many components, you don't want to calculate all of them. Like in GST, I'm not a GST expert to be honest. So CGST, SGST can be calculated in one use case. But if you are talking about IGST, you don't really need CGST and SGST in that use case. Now that's how you can select the specific components in your component formula. So you say VAT and you have to tell the system what's the formula for calculating VAT. So you click here and you will say amount times your VAT percent divided by 100. Okay. So once you do that, it's going to take amount and VAT percent as tokens, and you have to tell him what is amount here. So in this case, if I go here, you'll say your current record, I don't know, line amount could be your amount and percent. So you go there at this time from the lookup, you will say component percent, and you want the component percent of VAT. How it's going to be calculated, where it's going to be calculated, you don't really have to bother that. You have mapped the values. That is this. All right, so this is done. This is done. Now let's release this use case, enable this one. And yeah, you can see now the parent-child hierarchy is there. You have to do it for the parent use case as well. Release this and enable it. Super. Um, oops. All right, so there was one more thing, and that is to enable this tax type as well. So you can see I've disabled all other tax types. to make this video. So yeah, go to this tax type, make it release, then enable. Well, that is one thing. Now, as part of the last step, you will say use case tree, and I've cleared the tree of what is given as the default functionality by Microsoft, but just to make this very relevant. So I'll configure one and then I'll explain to you what I'm doing here. So I'll say VAT and I'll say begin, and it's a root tax type. Okay, so that is this, and then I will say I would like to configure it for my sales line and calculate it when. So there are conditions like, your number has to be non-blank, your quantity has to be, non-zero. So you can put your conditions like this. So you can say number is not equal to blank. You can put conditions like this. Or you can also put conditions saying VAT business posting group not equals to blank. Okay, so those single line conditions, they just should not be part of the use case. Okay, the only responsibility, the single responsibility of that use case is to calculate tax. So if just consider it from a performance perspective, you can put dynamic conditions and everything on the use cases that the UI is built in a way. But if you put more and more condition on that use case, you're going to put up overhead on the use case as well. Okay, so yeah, don't put such conditions on the use cases. So you'll say quantity this, blah, blah, blah. And then you also say TE, I'll put some space in between. That's your end of VAT. You don't have to define a type here. You've seen that I've defined a root type here as VAT and the tax type again. So this means that this part of tree, this branch of tree is basically uh, pointing to the VAT tax type. Okay, I'll say TE00002. I'll say calculate um, on type item, and this time I say use case. It's pointing to sales line condition where type is item. Okay, and now in the use case, you have to tag that use case to this line, right? So I'll say VAT, and I would like to calculate it on this use case. Okay. All right. So once this is done, I'll say function indent. That you can make a parent-child relation sort of kind of thing. So let's see. Now I will go to my sales orders. I'll create a new one. 10,000. 1936S. Bingo. So I have this tax rate in place, right? Um, I did not get the percentage though, and that could be because, yeah, my posting date was not correct. So there you see, 10%. So I've configured the effective from date as today, and the work date was from 5/11, so 5/1, 2021. So that was the reason, right? So that is one thing. You have your tax now. Now, if I go to orders and statistics, I can see in the summary there is a separate tab for this. So you get the values of VAT on the top, and you can see the VAT amount from W1 is still zero. Okay, but the VAT that is calculated by the system is from tax engine is 10%, and that's 869, right? Now, if you want to see the actual use case, yeah, that's where the grouping is done. So it's saying with this use case, this component is calculated. You want to see the config, you can go here. Okay. So that is it. That is one thing. Now, another thing would be if I try to post this transaction, it is saying that tax posting is not configured on this use case, right? Which means that your transaction is calculating tax, but you are still not actually posting it using tax engine. Okay, so let's configure posting on it, right? So I'll go to tax type, And then I will go to VAT and I'll go to use cases and then this use case. And then I have to first make it a draft. So I've changed it to draft. It became 0.1. Uh, Point of knowledge here again. So 0.1. So 0 is the version managed by Microsoft, which is the major version. Dot 1 is the minor version. So every time you change anything on the use case, let's say the use case is provided by Microsoft, the version would be 1.0. You change anything, it will become 1.1. Microsoft changes or upgraded this use case again, it will become 2.0. You merge your changes back and it will become 2.1. Okay, and the change by also changes based on that. If it is done by Microsoft, it is going to be changed by Microsoft. It is not, if it is changed by you, it will be marked as changed by partner. All right, so next thing that we want to do here is we want to configure posting. Now I will say, you know what, I want to post my GL account, and that is where this becomes a bit tricky because there could be one table where you want to configure your GL accounts for posting. For example, uh, 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 yeah. So in this case, I can say, let's forget about the screen for a minute, where you have your, VAT percentages as well. And I'll show you a different example, then I'll come back to this. With, let's say, GST, when you define GST posting setup, and you can say that with this combination, where state is Delhi, component is this, your receivable account is this, your payable account is this, your expense account is, so you're configuring GL account into a different table. Okay. Now, in a similar way, you can use VAT posting setup, not for configuring your tax rates, but for defining your VAT account. So in this case, my sales VAT account is this, purchase VAT account is this. Okay. Now we'll map this table with this. Now don't get confused. I said earlier that you don't really need a table to configure your tax rates. I was true at that point because this table, we are using it right now to get the GL accounts, not the tax rates. Okay. So let's take this example. My posting entity name will be tax posting setup. And on this table, I'm going to put up a filter because I just want to point it to my VAT posting setup. So I say VAT posting business posting group equals current records, or not current record. This case, I'm going to take this as attributes. So attribute of VAT business posting group. Yeah. And then I'll say VAT product posting group equals tax attribute of VAT product posting. I might have to change it back to current record, but let's see. All right. So with this, you will get one record from the VAT posting setup table. Now with that, you want to post the component of VAT. So if the component which is marked as false on skip posting to GL, you can map it here. So you can say here as account type field is this, and the field that you want to take for the GL account is sales VAT. Okay. Now if it's the, and what impact do you want to create? And that is where my accounting lags up. It should be credit, I guess. Let's see. If it's not, we can change the side all the time. If it's a case of reverse charge, you can mark this as true, and then you have to define the reversal impact of that account as well. Okay. If it's the case of reverse charge, you can just select this and then you can mark it here. Now keep in mind, it's not like you can select tables from this field only, fields from this table only. It could be a lookup field as well. If it's a lookup, you can go in and you can see it's the same lookup window, right? Okay, so I can say change it back to field, and I'll say sales VAT account. Now, so this is what it is going to do. Now let's see what happens. Okay, I'm just going to enable it. Release, enable. Go back to my use case. Just to ensure things are okay, I will say I'll change the quantity to 2. So the amount is changed, which is good. I'll change it back to 1. All right, so posting, preview posting. So it says sales VAT account must have a value on this. Oh, so it is taking it as blank. Yeah, I was wrong there. Sorry guys, my mistake. I did one step wrong. So I'll go back to that use case. I have to disable it again. Posting setup. Yeah, these two things are wrong. So I have to change this mapping actually. So instead of tax attribute, it has to be the current records VAT business posting group. And similarly on this, it has to be current records VAT product posting group. Yeah, that makes more sense because till now the attributes are not basically computed, so that makes sense. Now let's see. So just to ensure tax engine is doing fine, change the quantity to 2, amount changes. 1, amount is changed again, which is good. Go to posting. Now you can see there is a GL entry and it says 7. And you know what? It is also posting inventory cost as well. So for a minute, I will just turn it off. Say never. Don't worry, I'll change it back. So I'll go to posting, preview posting. All right, so I have 3 GL entries here now. So this says this account is my sales account. This is my VAT. Don't worry about this 25, that's just as a description. I've configured it for 10%. And this is my customer's account. So there's one more interesting thing here. Usually, when you see the transactions with the Business Central, usually the customer or the vendor account GL is the last entry that you see here. Okay, but in this case, the tax accounts goes after the customer's posting or the vendor's posting. Shouldn't be a problem, but yeah, that's how it is working. So that's your GL posted. Now let's see the VAT entry. We still don't have one, and the reason behind it because that's the standard VAT entry. That's not by tax engine, okay? Because we haven't configured the subledger mapping. So do we have to write code for this? No. I'll go back to the tax types and I will go back to that use case and I'll say draft posting setup. Now I've noticed that for this component, you want to post your subledger, right? So with this component, you will click on tax ledger mapping. Now it can be conditional, right? So if you want to put up any condition that if this condition is true, then only create this subledger, else create any other subledger, then yeah, you can use that. Else you can say sequence as one. Why am I getting an error? All right, so I click on the mapping side and I'll say I want to create a VAT entry. Okay. Yeah, I would like to run the trigger. So you can say entry number. So I know entry number, usually we can make it auto increment, but now let's make it 10,000 or something like that. Yeah. And or you know what? This is actually the right point to show you how to use computation scripts. So let me just go back. So we know that we need the last entry number and then want to plus that entry number. So to do something like this, we also need to do the find last and then plus one kind of thing, right? But with Tax Engine, you also get a option for writing some small scripts. So in this case, I want to write a posting script saying I need a VAT entry number and it's of type number. Okay. And then I will say it's kind of a variable. So I'll say set variable. So you can see here, if you go here, you will, I actually wanted to show you the whole list. So I'm just going to delete this one. Yeah. If you see here, there's a set of actions that you can perform in the scripting base. Okay. So I'll show you one of them. So we'll say set variable. And on the RHS side, I'll say output variable is going to be the variable that I have just created. Okay. And on the value, I will say get the value of VAT entries last entry number. You don't want to put any filters. Okay, well, that's your entry numbers settled. Now, what you wanted to do is you want to put up a, because you want to increment that number, right? So you will say this time number yeah, you'll say numeric expression, and you can say output variable again is going to be your VAT entry number. What you're going to do, you're going to say VAT or last entry number plus 1. Okay, so last entry number is going to be your variable of VAT entry number, or you could have instead of doing the first set variable, you could have directly set the lookup of VAT entry here as well. But nevertheless, so now in this variable of VAT entry, you have the value of your entry number, which means that you can now say sequence 1 entry number. You're going to set it from the variable. Where is that? There you go. Of VAT entry number. So I'm not going to populate all the fields. I will just populate some of them. What else? General business posting group. Third could be general product. Fourth going to be VAT business. And then what else? VAT product. Sixth could be the VAT percent. No, let's see. Where can I get the percentage of VAT? Hmm, that is odd. I don't know. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I don't see VAT percentage here. Hmm, that's odd. All right. Well, we can update it all the time, right? If we don't find it here. So I'll say base amount. That is also one of the things I want to configure. And then I will say I would also like to configure the amount. What else? Line number 8 would be mm, yeah, posting date. What else? I would also like you to show one thing. There could be things like transaction number that you also would like to configure it here. Okay. So I will now say general business posting group. Now you have to define the mapping right here. Okay. What value did I select it here? Was it base? Super. So I'll say general business posting group would be my current records, general business posting group, right? Same goes for current records, general product posting group. What else? Current records, VAT, business. Now at this point, you can select attributes as well. Better if you select attributes, but if you're not doing it, that's fine. VAT product. Base amount would be your current records line amount. Oops. Yeah. Amount will be your component uh, VAT. Posting date will be your sales header first of posting date where your document type. So you can see how I'm configuring all this. It's going to be a one-time activity, right? So current records, document type, and your current records document number. Okay, so this is actually the part which I have not mentioned on my blog last time. Now, important thing, transaction number, right? You need the transaction number at the time of reversal and everything. So with this, there is an option in your lookup, which is posting field. So posting field basically gives you certain things that you might wanted to use, like posted document line number, or in my case, it could be GL entry transaction number, or the dimension set ID as well, for that matter. Now, um, let's see what else. I might want to have the document number as well. Silly me, I should have selected it the first time. So I can say posted fields. If I look up here, so you can see the options are getting changed because the LHS has a different data type, that is type of string or code. So based on that, RHS is also changing up. Super. If you want to set the run validate as true, that's also going to work. Okay, so let's see. Release, enable. I'll go back to my sales order. I think it was this one. Let's see, just in case we didn't break anything, change the quantity, updating taxes, good. If I go to preview posting now, so I have one GL entry, which is for this, and it's adding up to my customer's account. That is good. Now you can notice here I have two VAT entries. Okay. Now this was from standard. Okay. And this was from the tax engine. You can see it has all the things that you wanted. Now some of the fields are not populated because I have not mapped it on my use case subledger mapping. But if you wanted to do that, just put it up there and it's going to populate it, right? So uh, yeah, guys, that is pretty much it. There was one small thing that I wanted to tell you because now let's take another example, right? If I take this item again, I'll say 1936S and quantity as one, amount as this. Now, if I try to see the stats, I see the total amount of 1738, which is good. Now, if I try to post it in the preview posting, I'll see one GL entry. That's also good, right? And if I see the VAT entry, um, yeah, that is also good. Might have, yeah, the grouping also seems to be working fine. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think uh, that is pretty much it, guys. Let's try to post it all together. I have enabled workflow on it. Why would I do that? Okay, let's try to post it. Say post, ship an invoice. I'll see the posted document. There it is, right? So I have not created any VAT related fields for in my sales line. Sorry, I'm not updating anything on my sales line. The stats and everything else, the working the way it should. If I go to my this tab tax summary, I can see the tax details. And if I try to navigate it, find entries, new action available. So I can see the GL entries. It has the tax amount, right? And then if I see my VAT entries, I can see the tax amount here as well. Ah, you know what? That's exactly what I wanted to tell you guys. So it basically depends on the configuration. So I've added the current lines amount. So instead of that, you have to summarize the amount and then put it up on the amount field. So that's why you can see here it says the total amount as 17,380. It has to be like this, but on the line that I have created, I just tagged the line amount. Instead of that, you should have selected the sum of line amount. You can put up scripts for that, right? Yeah, I'll leave it up to you guys how you do that. But in general, the GLs are in consistent, and I'm not breaking anything in the system. Tax is calculating, and like I said, no code, right? Just create fields and entities and pages. You should be good. All right. Well, yeah, feel free to barge up with your questions if you have any. Only please related to tax engine. I'm good with this, but I'm not good with the conception knowledge of GST, TDS, and TCS. Okay. Um, well, that is it, guys. Thank you for watching the video. Have a good day. Bye.